Tired? Everybody need some chocolate? Definitely a bowl. All right. Well, let me start off by saying I've been to some classes and been starting my rounds. We'll conclude them again in January, but I have been into, I don't know, 5 or 6 different schools. And one of the things that I see that maybe Fred Jones can't help, but you can correct, is teachers not meaning business. And so one of the things you'll read in Fred Jones, it says that being consistent means being consistent 100% of the time, right? So if today your student can get away with it, and tomorrow because you have a headache they can't, and then the next day they can, what do they think? And they're not even really thinking about it, but how are they reacting to you? They don't know where you stand, do they? Okay? And so one of the things you have to do is be consistent. The second thing that I'm seeing a lot of is not following through. So for instance, you ask your class to be quiet, and then you go into teaching, but not all of the kids have stopped talking. Okay? That's a reinforcement error. What have you just communicated through behavior that is acceptable in your class? It's okay to talk while I'm talking. All right. If you ask the class to be quiet and they are not, then you need to make sure that they are. Before you move forward, you have to mean business. You have to mean what you say you mean. When you're inconsistent, you're going to get inconsistent behavior back. Okay? If you have a rule that students are not allowed to get out of their seat, and kids are still up, and you say, "Oh, class, everybody sit down," and there's still 2 kids standing up, when you begin to go on to the next thing, you have once again communicated. It's okay to stand up. I really don't mean what I say. Okay? Does it mean that you have to be mean? No. It doesn't mean that you have to be mean. It doesn't mean you have to get out your coach's voice. Sorry, PE teachers. I didn't mean to. It doesn't mean that you have to get out that authoritative, my veins are popping out of my neck kind of expression on your face. But if you don't reinforce what you're saying and back it up, the kids are going to start taking advantage of you. And it doesn't matter what age group it is. Okay, so I've been in 2nd grade classes and saw it. I've been in 6th grade classes and saw it. I've had, in the past, I have a high school class right now where she didn't stop it. I've had a teacher that we had to dismiss because he wasn't even aware the kids were talking while he was talking. He would just try to talk over them. Okay? Does that work? No. All right. So if you're sitting here tonight and 6 of you are talking, would that be a distraction for the rest of us? Yes. Okay. So there's that. And with the 6 people that are talking, are they going to be able to hear or interact with what's going on? Have you ever said, "Please turn to page 27, and the same 3 kids every day say, "What page?" Worse, you look over and the book's not even out. All right, I have some bad news for you. That's on you. Okay? So I'm not pointing anybody out, so you don't have to feel bad and go home and cry tonight. But if your administrator comes in and sees this, what are they going to write down? Classroom management is an issue. And I'm telling y'all, 7 years in this position, classroom management is the number 1, number 2, and number 3 reason teachers are dismissed. You can't start teaching unless you have control of your class. Okay? I literally heard 2 weeks ago a student turn to her teacher and say, "That's because you don't have control of this class." The kids knew she didn't have control of her class. All right. Dirty little secret. Your kids are the biggest snitches on campus. So the administrator says, "So how is Sally doing? How's Miss Sally doing?" And that kid has no filter and everything's coming out, even if they like it. Right? What are you learning? I'm not learning anything. And then it goes down to parents. I don't ever see you get homework. I don't understand why you don't know this math problem. What's going on in your class? Oh gosh, everyone talks all the time. So and so was kicking such and such, right? And then what does mom do? Mom's getting on the phone, but they're not talking to you. Okay? So I'm trying to save you some grief here, y'all. You've got to mean business. If you say to do something, make sure it's done before you go on to the next step. It sounds so simple. And I kind of, as I've been looking at these classes, thinking about what we talked about with classroom management, and I realize what I say sounds so simple to do. But when I go in the classroom, I realize it's hard. I get it. And I've been in your shoes. I have. I had a 6th grade class in Planada that was a block class that was 2 hours long. Somebody was talking about ratio of guys to girls. I had something like 23 girls and 11 boys, 6th graders. And 6th grade girls are not pre-adolescent, they're pre-human. Drama. And I didn't know anything about drama. I didn't know. I learned the hard way. And that whole first semester was a wrestling match. And I remember going home exhausted. Right? Does all those interruptions cause that fight-flight reflex to kick up that we talked about? And so sometimes it's just easier to ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist and hope that it goes away. Does it work?
Not consistently.
Nope. So you think I'll extinguish it by not reinforcing it, but they're getting reinforced. Not by you, but by the person sitting next to them. Most kids, now let me break the news to y'all. Most of you became teachers because you were great at school. You were all A students. Some of you have mastered. Josh is laughing. Dude. That's why you're PE, man. So that's it. Most of you graduated in the top of your class in college, right? Magna cum laude, cum laude. I graduated college, praise the Lord. I did. I was a goof off in college. I passed. But then, when I went to graduate school and I had to get my credential and my family was on the line, all of a sudden I miraculously became an A student. All right. Are your students motivated by grades?
No.
How many of you have said, well, if you don't turn this in, your grade is going to be a F, a 0, or it's going to drop your overall grade to a B or a C? Does it make most students want to get that assignment turned in? So you're going to have to figure out how to incentivize them and figure out what makes them tick. Grades, honestly, for most kids, not kids like you were, most kids, okay, like Josh,
Thank you.
need to be incentivized. Okay, so for Josh it was, you're not playing football until you get a B in my class. Dang. My dad came to me in high school, I was 16 years old. Said, you want to drive, Steve? Yeah. You want to have a car? Yeah. Had to have a B average. No. It was amazing how fast my grades went up between the time I was a sophomore and junior in high school. My dad said I couldn't drive my own vehicle that I bought with my own money by working at Burger King. Right? Until I had a B average. And the truth was, B average meant a discount on the insurance. So my dad had a financial incentive to make sure I was getting good grades. I was capable, I was just lazy, like most kids. Okay? Be consistent. Right? That'll save you a lot of grief. Second thing I want to tell you tonight, before we even get to this, is if things have been rocky so far, the nice thing about a Christmas break and long break is that you can push the reset button when you come back. Okay? And if you haven't heard it before, let me tell you, it's easier to be tough and get easy than it is to be easy and try to get tough. Okay? So if things have gotten out of control, if Thanksgiving's come up, the rain's come up, the wind has come up, chocolate's come into your classroom, Santa Claus is making kids bounce off the walls or whatever, or it's just that you didn't set the class structure in place properly to begin with and now you're regretting it, you get a reset, okay? It's not a hard reset, but it is a reset. And so you can come back in January and begin to put some more structure in place and have more resolve that you're going to be consistent and mean what you said. Make sense? All right. It's not a hard reset though. There's still some things in there, but fortunately there's a big enough gap that you can come back and say this is the way things are going to be and make sure that that happens. I will tell you, how many of you are second year teachers? Second year. Keep your hands up. Of those of you that are second year, how many of you would say this year is way easier than last year? We were talking, you had a different reason for it being easier, but how about your classroom procedures and the things you're doing? Has that had an impact? Yeah. How about you? Has it been easier?
Well, I'm in elementary, I was at high school, so yes, but, yeah, learned a lot, mostly what not to do the first year, so yeah, it has been smoother.
Good.
Yeah.
So first year, there's hope. There's a lot of hope, right? So don't get discouraged. Okay, a lot of you right now. Did you know that there's a physiological effect that the sunlight has on your body? Shorter days actually causes your moods to change. Okay? Now, the PE guys that are out in the sun, like, what are you talking about? But the rest of us that are indoors, you go to work, like me, I come to work and it's barely getting light, and I go home and it's dark already. What the heck? There's a physiological, I don't know what the name of it is, I heard it on the radio the other day, but there's a physiological effect on that. Okay, first thing. Second thing is, you have been stressed this whole semester with starting new things, just anxiety of a new year, all the unexpected things that are coming on, grading homework, tight schedules, and I would be willing to bet that most of you have been eating unhealthily or have changed your diet significantly this semester as compared to where you used to be. And you're eating a lot more stuff you shouldn't be eating. Alright, that plays into how you're feeling. Because all that bad food causes you to be what? Tired, lethargic, right? My wife says, and gassy. Oh. Alright.
You know, I was gonna say, not being a first or second year teacher, but being new to a new district is just as stressful with years of experience because districts have different expectations. And so I feel like, this is my 12th year of teaching, but I feel like a brand new teacher this year because it's a totally different dynamic that I'm working in now. And it's humbling and mind-boggling at the same time. So, it's good because it kind of recharges your batteries and go, I need to change things because the way I used to do it isn't working this time around.
Agreed. And one of the things that brought to my attention when you said that is, y'all are making a relationship with kids, but they change every year. But when you're at a site, you're also making relationships with the adults on campus. And that can be kind of interesting as that begins to play out. I'm sure that was something like, gosh, I don't know anybody.
Right.
At least when you get a new set of kids, you still have your next door neighbor that you remember from last year.
Yeah.
And then you texted over the summer or maybe went to a PD with. But yeah.
But you know no one. So yeah, you're the new kid on the block and it's humbling.
All right. You all have been evaluated now this spring, fall?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't gotten time.
You haven't gotten back yet?
Final, no.
Oh, wow. Okay. So do me a favor on the down low, if it was less than what you expected, and you're like going, oh my gosh, come talk to me or call me or email me and we can, maybe there's something I can do to help you. I don't want you to announce it in front of the class tonight, hey, I got all kind of U's. I don't want you to be embarrassed. But I do want you to come talk to me and see if we can help you. You have another evaluation coming in February? January even. Okay. They have to have them done by, at least in our district, by March 1st. March 15th is the official date that Ed Code tells school districts they must notify teachers they're not retaining them. So we call that Pink Slip Day, March 15th. And so if you're not coming back by next year, you'll know prior to March 15th, which makes for a very difficult March, April, and May. So knowing that you're having to work at a place that doesn't want you back next year. But you got to finish strong because you still need to go someplace next year, and you want your current employer to say something nice about you as you go away. So bad choice to say, oh, on March 16th I'm done, I'm not coming back. First year teachers, at least in Madera Unified, the philosophy is, the rule of thumb, be easy on them the first year, harder on them the second year. So the expectations actually will go up, but we want a whole year and a half to have a chance to get to know you before we make a decision as to whether we want to offer you tenure or not. First year's kind of breathe easier, unless you're in a lot of hot water, and I don't see anybody here in this room tonight that's in that case. I've heard great things and seen great things that come out and see. You have a new job, you have new expectations, you've moved, you're on a poor diet, you've been stressed out, shorter days, and now we have faced our 3-week vacation, and you just got to manage the next, 28 hours, and then you're done. I know and get that you're tired. And according to data that's nationwide, right at this point, you're probably feeling as low as you have all year. About your job performance, about life, about your boyfriend or husband or wife or whatever, you're at a low. Please listen to this part. You're not alone. And it's totally natural and normal. So the way that you're feeling like, really, why did I want to become a teacher? Please understand that you're not alone, and that the old saying, this too shall pass. Okay? We know that you'll get a little rejuvenation from going on a nice little 3-week break. We go into state testing season, and by the time we finish with spring break and enter into April, you'll be climbing out of this hole. And then this summer you will feel rejuvenated and excited about coming back next August. I promise. I promise. So however you're feeling today, realize that this too shall pass. And we'll get through it. And I'll give you all the chocolate that you need to make it. All right. Tonight we're going to talk about how to make independent learners out of your helpless hand raisers. So that you can be free to work the crowd during guided practice. There's an old Chinese proverb: I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. All right. How many of you go to church on a regular basis? Okay. Those of you who raise your hand, can you tell me the 3 points of the sermon on Sunday? Are you not motivated when you're in church to learn what the speaker has to say? Was it entertaining and good to hear? Do you even remember the theme? My pastor's talking about not being a Scrooge at Christmas and how to get along with our family members, and I went, bah,
My pastor just left, so we're kind of in the middle of people trying to figure out who's gonna take over. And I miss an old pastor.
Yeah.
If he was up there, I'd remember what it was.
Well, the thing is that auditory memory plays a trick on us. Auditory memory plays a trick on us. If I tell you a list of colors and in 10 seconds ask you to repeat it, most of you would be able to do it. But if I asked you to do it 20 minutes later, most of you would be unable to do it. Okay? And I will also tell you that learning is attached to emotions. And so if you're sitting in class trying to do long division and you're bored, is it going to stick to long-term memory? No. Okay? Let me give you an example. What did you eat for breakfast on Friday morning?
I didn't.
All right, just a simple memory, what you had on breakfast. All right, let me ask you this question. How many of you remember your first kiss?
Nah.
A ton of emotion attached to that, right? Some of you go, I haven't been kissed yet.
16 never been kissed.
A date? I don't know what that is.
It's okay.
I hear and I forget. So memory from auditory purposes, from the lecture, from direct instruction where we're just listening, we only remember about 10%. It's one of the reasons why we designed this series of lessons for Fred Jones over the course of 10 sessions instead of where it actually was designed to be given in 2 or 3 day seminar. Okay? Imagine going through all of this in 2 or 3 days. How much of it would you remember? 10%. And you would cherry pick what you liked and throw away the rest or forgot the rest, and then try it and then say, well, this doesn't work, and then throw the whole thing away. So one of the reasons that we designed it the way we do is so that we have a chance to go back and review and make you get up and make you do things. And tonight is no different. You're going to make a paper airplane, and you're actually going to get into groups and start writing a visual VIP lesson. And then you're going to present that to us next time we meet. Okay? So, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. What's the phrase? A picture is what? Picture's worth 1,000 words. Alright. I see and I remember. But if I can do it, I understand. In other words, if I can teach it, then I know it. Have you ever let your students teach the class? How'd that go?
Somewhat well, somewhat, yeah.
If you can teach it, you can know it. That's why fourth grade teachers, you are expert at California history. Right? Ask my social studies teacher in high school, U.S. history, they don't know anything about California history. And my fourth grade teachers do because they got to go through it. Sixth graders, y'all know everything about Egypt, right? Yes. And second grade teachers, you know how to add everything. All right. You're going to know how to create a lesson plan with clear stepwise graphics as a visual instructional plan. You'll understand how to create interactive lessons using say, see, do. Now, PE teachers are going, what? This doesn't apply to me. And I will tell you, PE teachers, that I had a teacher at Madera South High School use posters that she created to help teach her. Like, for one thing I saw was when she was teaching the volleyball lesson. Okay, so she had different steps involved, and so it can even work in PE. All right, let's review. Classroom setup. What did we talk about with classroom setup? Be able to walk the room. Has your room migrated and changed in the last month and a half? Why?
Different times.
Because I changed the seating.
You changed the seating chart?
Well, every 6 weeks I change it. Because they're in groups of Kagan groups. So
How many? Did you change the furniture at all?
No, just the groups.
How many of you changed the furniture arrangement? Good. You find that you can walk the room better?
Well, I could before, but I like the, kind of the stadium, you know, what do you call it? Where it's kind of curved instead of roads.
Okay.
So I curved it around, so it makes it a little bit easier for them to see the board and I can still gain, access around.
Nice. 3 color zones. Turn to the person next to you and tell them what those 3 colors are and what they mean.
Red means stuff, it means quiet. Yellow green means peace out, we're over there. We're good to go. You can't even tell which one of us it is. I've been better about it. I don't think I even.
He was a good kid. I was just trying to say to get him to move around.
I'm gonna try something.
What's the green?
A? turn all their desks around backwards so they can't get in there. There's nothing in there anyway. Like, going down to the rocks, getting a cubby and setting their head down there, and all their books and covers. So there's nothing, there's no reason, you don't have a desk. I have my way of doing the table like this. If your parents want to donate pencils to the classroom, they can do that. Do not bring your stuff with you. School supplies, you know, I sell those for classroom money. 20 classroom dollars a pop. Buy them at Walmart. It was like 2 legs of cherries. Yeah, I saw yours. Don't crack me. You should have kept the letters in
I bought the big round pencils that they use in that kindergarten.
Oh, yeah, the lad.
They keep breaking them. That's what they're gonna be like.
You got a cake down pencil. I've known teachers they go to Roger Guns and they buy a whole box of them. And then she gives them the erasers too. They stick on the top. Here's our eraser.
Three, two, one. All right, and then we talked about how our physical presence can accommodate a lot of the behavior in the class. Have you found that standing next to students takes care of most problems? Have any of you had any kid go, "Why are you standing here?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And what did you do?
I just gave the green stare.
Nice,
And then they were like,
right? What would have happened if you would have said something?
I would have been arguing
Lost your power.
and lost my,
They would have answered back.
You would have started an argument, and then your back talk would have gotten the kid kicked out of school or class, because eventually you would have said, "That's it. Go to the principal's office." Good job. Good job. All right. Have you used the Queen I am not amused look in class?
Yes.
How's that working?
Rocks.
Talk to the person next to you about one time they used it and it totally melted the kid.
Sitting all the way across. Sitting over there for that teacher was distracted. He was talking. And I just turned and I went like this. And the boy that was sitting with his back and he was talking to him. And then he turned around and looked at his Three, two, one. All right. Have you found yourself resorting to nagging, or has that begun to die off?
Dying off.
It's dying slowly.
I think that we have like a regenerative, I don't know, sassy gene, because I'll do that really once in a while, and to me that's when I'm nagging, because instead of saying I'm still waiting, it's like giving them permission for me to go on with my lesson. And I realized that I needed to stop doing that. That was just as bad as nagging, because I was compromising my authority in front of the kids. Really? Are we really waiting for you? You know, and so my sarcasm bone, or whatever you want to call it.
Some teachers can get away with it. It's not a good tool. I will tell you that that was one of mine, and it was sharp. But I was dealing with juniors and seniors for the most part of my career, and I gave in, and I also let them burn me, so to speak. And I kind of went, yep, I had that one coming. And I wouldn't get upset about it, and we'd laugh about it and move on. But not all classes, and certainly not all teachers can get away with that. If you've ran into Bill Code, did any of you have Bill Code as a teacher?
He was teaching when I was doing my student teaching.
He's been teaching for like since the dinosaurs were on the planet, but he has the sharpest sarcasm I have ever seen, and those kids loved it. But if I did what he did, I'd be fired. So if some teachers can get away with it, but most can't. Sarcasm is a bad choice. So today I was in a class, and the teacher turned off the lights and waited for the class to be quiet, and then it worked. Turned the lights on, kids were quiet. Was in another class, and the teacher had a hand sign, and I counted that were 4 kids that continued to talk while the teacher was giving direct instruction, and he just kept on going. Okay? And so for me, I'm thinking, oh no, humongous red flag for me, because I'm thinking he didn't even pause long enough for the kids to settle down. And he just communicated, I don't mean business, right? That's what we mean by working the room, okay? All right, so the kid says, why are you standing next to me? And there's a little snarl, a little attitude. That 15-year-old throws their head back, a little eye roll. One of the things I was remembering the other day was I had kids that would smack. Oh, heck no. I'm just like, right? What are we supposed to do? At first, I would get upset about it. That was my fight-flight reflex. Oh, heck no. You smack at me? Heck no. Right? What are we supposed to do instead? Stay calm. Should your students be able to read your emotions? Alright, so I know one of the things that happens is an adult walks into your room, even if it's just me, especially if it's your administrator, and what happens to your heart rate? Y'all get scared. Okay. And if you get nervous, what happened to your students?
They get nervous.
Right? So you call on them and they're like nervous and they know the answer, but now they can't answer. Yeah. You must stay calm. Okay. If you get mad, will that spread to your class?
Yep.
And how about some of you, when you get upset, do you stay upset for like the rest of the day?
Just with that class.
Yeah, just that class? I don't know, I was one of those guys that would blow in, blow up, and then blow out. I was good. Everyone else was feeling my pain, but I was good. Alright, so we need to stay calm and not participate in that emotional exchange. Alright, so what if the kid does something that's funny? How many of you have busted up at something a kid did and it ruined your class?
Oh, I laugh most of the time.
You laugh at it?
My kids thought I was crying, but I was actually laughing. I was trying to cover up my throat.
Fortunately for Josh, you have older kids, so you can regain them pretty quickly. What happens when the 3rd grade class starts laughing?
It's laughing for a while.
All right, even worse. What about a 7th grade
Kids laughing over
class?
there.
Oh, my kids.
7th grade teachers, anyone junior high? What happens when you lose a 7th grade class?
They're gone. I told my class, I have algebra tiles, so they're like these plastic things, and they're one side's negative, one side's positive, and I have one kid that is just the goof off of the entire school, I swear. And he decided one was a boy and one was a girl, and when they meet, they get to kiss, so he's sitting there going, And so the entire class is laughing. I was like, alright, you have 2 minutes. Get all your laughter out, and then I'm done. Because the next one that laughs gets an extra assignment for homework, because it means you're not learning right now. The other 2 minutes, they watch the clock and go, 2 minutes is up! Never heard him laugh again.
Nice. Nice. So you meant business. All right. The kids do funny things all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
There's some times when it's all right to laugh with your class, and you know when those appropriate times are. But right before you're going to take an assessment, and some little kid toots, you can't laugh. Some of you go, well, I don't ever laugh. That's not funny. Alright,
You're good at my third class.
gotta stay calm. Alright, we talked about praise, prompt, and leave. So as we're reviewing, as humans, our eyes tend to see, when we look especially at a kid's work, what do we see first, naturally? We see the mistake first. Turn to your partner and say, we see the mistake first. Okay, so if we see the mistake first, then what are we going to say? The first thing we're going to do is point out the mistake. Alright, and so now we have a student that's struggling with math, and they have a label inside of their head already, I'm horrible at math, and you come over to help them, and the first thing you do is say, we just went over this, why don't you know that on the board, right? And now what is the kid thinking? I knew it, I'm terrible at math, I'm dumb, and we've just reinforced that. Alright, so in praise, prompt, and leave, what are we supposed to do first?
Praise.
We're supposed to give a praise. And I just remembered that we were supposed to practice that last time and didn't, did we?
No, we didn't.
Did we get to it last time? Did we practice it?
You were sick. I don't know if we did. But
That's right. I was dying last time.
You
y'all
brought us
were
all
here.
the disease.
I'm trying to remember if I
No, we did the turn.
Here we go, the turn and
Practice.
practice turn and look.
I thought we did do that.
I lost my voice, Mr. Rayleigh. Doesn't sound like you lost your voice. No, I lost it yesterday. Sounds like you found it. Well, no, it's still gone. Can you tell? No, it's not. You have a full voice. Quit using it in class if I tell you to. That's kind of good. Yeah, you got it.
Sounds great.
Mine don't tell you that. You just look over. And all of a sudden, here it comes right down in front of her. In fact, I think she was actually trying to make herself throw up that day. Didn't want to go home.
I think it was 10 or 12, yeah.
You know,
My final was 16. But I just had to busy and really hard. So not hard, it was just very detailed. Yeah, they actually have. I'm still not trying to like relish it. Like, I'm still doing about 4 pages. But yeah, at least they were oh, it's great. It's great.
shed on the side of the hill.
Yeah, they saw that.
They all live there.
Right now, because like they had the winners had their movie the day before. Yeah, but then they'll kick them out because they don't have.
No, I actually did not. I was off.
They were on
All right, I want you to get into groups of 3 to 5. Get into groups of 3 to 5.
I did it. I was off. I went to that.
Pretty good.
I knew it.
that was really
All right, are you there? Turn your agendas over.
Perdón, perdón.
I don't know the answer. Surely there may be. Okay, so I want you to write that down on the back of your agenda. And then I want you to pick one person in your group to be the teacher.
Go by grades. Go by grades. Well, they're teaching division right now.
Okay. Teachers, raise your hands. Are you got a new teacher in your group?
0 times.
Very good. 3 to 5. You two moved up here to be a group of 4 or a group of 3.
Yeah.
Does one person wanna come back here?
Oh, like that?
Be a gentleman.
Got a teacher back Do you guys have a teacher? Oh, you got a teacher here. You got a group of 4? Okay, good. All right, now, I want you to pick a student.
Divisor. Monkey hand. Divided. Dividend.
Then if you were not picked, you were the coach. What is your role if you weren't picked? What role do you have if you weren't picked?
Teacher.
The coach.
Oh.
Glad I checked for understanding. All right. Listen carefully to the rules. The colleague who's presenting the VIP will play the role of the student, since they are best able to mimic the errors the students make on the assignment. So student, I want you to take a couple of steps on this division problem, and at some point make a mistake that would be typical of a math mistake in the 5th grade. This is 5th grade math, yes? So students, start making some progress on this problem and then make a mistake.
Well, most of mine would copy it down. The first thing, did you copy it down right? Sorry, I'm doing this right. Good.
All right, you ready? Have you done a couple of steps and then made a mistake?
Bring down minus 5.
Made a mistake. Okay.
And go back to the same.
All right, let's start.
Carefully.
Teacher, here's your roles.
Makes sense.
Teacher,
Do all of the.
stand up.
Look how they're supposed to. I see one mistake.
All right, quiet please. Okay. Teacher, turn and look at the student's performance. Take 2 relaxing breaths. Formulate a praise statement. Coaches, say to the teacher, what is right so far? After the teacher,
Got the one here, got this
Teacher.
one, right?
share your praise statement with your student.
Oh, no, good job there. So far you're on the right track. So you got the one here, brought that down, now you got 48 times 8. Figure that out.
And stop. Coach, ask the question, are you comfortable with it, or do you want to give it another try? So the coach is asking the teacher, are you comfortable with that praise statement?
Oh, yeah.
I think that was a good one.
Then you know what?
Okay. Teacher, let's hear your praise statement to your student. Go.
I'm glad you made the effort. I think it's a problem. I don't think it's crazy to be coming on before. But so far, you're doing well. I just want to
Coaches, tell your teachers to say it in half as many words.
You're doing great.
Good job. Excellent work. The video's right here. It's right there.
Have that time to
Okay, stop. Coach, now I want you to help your teacher go to the prompt section. What do you want the teacher to say about the problem on the paper?
I can have two coaches. What's wrong with the problem?
What exactly do you want the student to do next?
No, the subtraction was fine. It's just that when she marked on the number, she wrote it incorrectly.
even though my group, we're talking single digits, instead of taking and looking at
Coaches, what do we say? Can you say it in what?
Less.
Not as many words.
Double check your work.
Okay. Here's where we're at. So, and you'll be a chance to share and take turns in a moment. Y'all, the longer we take interaction with the student, the more time we have for other students to do what? How many of you are frustrated when you come over to help a student with a problem and the rest of the class starts talking, getting out of their seat, dropping their pencil? Today I saw one kid get under the table so the other kid can kick her hand. I literally watched that for 4 minutes wondering, when is the teacher gonna figure this out?
Well, but in our defense, we're so focused on helping that student that I realized when I turn around, you are a bunch of monkeys. And all I did was help somebody and then I realized I shouldn't have tunnel vision on that one student. And that I am spending too much time, because if I can focus that intently, the room could be burning down and I wouldn't notice.
You're
I
right.
try to
Fighting
get
stars,
behind
some
them.
could be stolen.
So that I can see what's going on, at least, I may not see the sides, but, and then I'll look, and then I'm trying to look around and talking to the kids, but even though I'm not looking directly at the kid or the problems, I've already seen enough to know what I can say and still kind of look around. So some of them are thinking, and I tell the kids, if I'm not looking directly at you, I'm still answering your question, so that they know.
You're right. We need to, and we practiced that at the beginning, positioning ourselves in such a way that we're still facing the majority of the room. So now I'm helping a student, but I hear a commotion going on over there. What do I say? Excuse me, Larry. And I do what? Take 2 deep breaths, and then what? Do I have to move all the way over there? Maybe, maybe not.
But like when you're working in a small group at a table and you're in a position where it's hard to get up and move around the kidney table or something because you've got 3 squirrels over here playing with their peanuts, that is like for 6th graders, that is when everything falls
All right, have a
apart.
seat for a moment. Have a seat. Let me give you a spoiler, all right? If you promise not to lean on this too heavily, I want you to understand that as we're going through this, that there's a whole system in place. I'm going to show you VIP lessons tonight, and then Stacey do next time. And so tonight and next week is a combined session. But let me give you a preview of what's coming, kind of answer what you're saying and what you're saying. All right, and so I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of our future, I don't remember what number it is, 7 or 8, session 7 or 8. Fred Jones would tell you that we need to incentivize our students, okay? I would be willing to bet if we surveyed most teachers, they would say that their students are what? Unmotivated, they don't care. All right, so we need to figure out what they do care about, and we need to incentivize them. And he would say it this way, all right? He tells the story of his son who wanted to go to a party on Friday night, and he was responsible for bringing the potato chips and the soda. Dad, can I have $10? Can I borrow $10 to go get chips and soda on Friday night? No, Dad says, I give you an allowance, but I do not loan money. But Dad, I need some money to get the chips and soda, because if I don't have the chips and soda, we're not going to have anything. Bummer, what are you going to do? Put the problem back on the student. And what he learned was his son wouldn't manage money until he had money to manage. And now all of a sudden he had an incentive to making sure that he stuck to his budget, so that if something came up, he'd go buy chips and soda. In the same way, your students need to learn how to manage time. So you have to give them time to manage. Right now, all of the time management is on your shoulders. Is that right? Okay. So, again, Reader's Digest version, you can read ahead if you need to, but the system that Fred Jones has in place is called PAT, Preferred Activity Time. PAT is still tied to content standards, it's still tied to your lessons, it's still important. But for whatever reasons, kids like to do it, they enjoy it. Here's an example. Kelly Tuck at Madera High School, when she is getting ready for a test, she has this Jeopardy game that she brings out. And the kids go bonkers over this Jeopardy game. But it's still tied to her standards as they're preparing for Friday's test. All right? Another one I heard about, in fact, I wrote it in the MIC sample, was the snowball fight. So if you read the journal for the MIC sample that I just wrote, talked about a snowball fight, where on one side of the paper, the kids wrote the word, and on the other side, the definition. And then they crumpled it up. And then they had two sides. And then they threw the papers as fast as they can, and the teacher said time, and whatever side had more papers had to answer 5 questions, or whatever it was. So they'd have to open it up and see the word, and they would have to quiz each other on those 5 words with the answer on the back. Okay? That's a PAT. Is it still tied to content standards? The kids enjoy that? Elementary, you guys have art where you get to do fun things. Chromebooks is big. Whatever. There's all kinds of PAT that you can do. Showing a YouTube clip, or I don't know. In fact, on the Fred Jones website is a whole library of PAT activities. Okay, but here's how it works. So imagine that you have this thing that you want to do on Wednesday afternoon. Okay? And so you tell the kids that we get to, what's something fun you get to do in your class?
Go down to the greenhouse.
Get to go down to the greenhouse, okay? And so you tell the kids on Wednesday, we get to go down to the greenhouse, and we have 20 minutes. Would you like more time than 20 minutes? Because they love going to the greenhouse, right? Okay, so this is primed minutes. You're going to give them 20 minutes. But now, you're going to give them what we call bonus PAT. Some are automatic and some are contrived. So here's how you give out bonus minutes. Because ideally you want an hour in the greenhouse, right? But they don't know that. They think they're getting 20 minutes and you're going to make them earn the other 40. Okay? So here's how it works. Students, if you come in, like in high school, junior high, if you're coming in on time, I will give you an automatic 1-minute bonus every time everyone's here on time. If everyone turns in their homework on time, we get a minute to PAT bonus, okay? Or you say, like maybe transitions. Okay, kids, please put your English books away, get out your math books, and turn to page 72. We have 1 minute. If you can beat 1 minute, I'll put an extra minute on PAT. See where we're going with this? Mm-hmm. And you're looking for ways to get to 60 minutes, because you know that's coming on Wednesday, and you don't want 20, you want the 60. Still part of your academic context standards, still important. It's not hey, we get to watch Darth Vader or Star Wars on Friday. That's not PAT. Okay? Fun Fridays, by the way, are gone. You can get in trouble for Fun Fridays if you're not careful.
But if you're doing math stations, that's okay.
Math Stations is not Fun Friday. Math Stations is maybe PAT. It's
is,
still
yeah.
tied to your academic content standards. Okay?
We call it Fun Friday, but that's.
Well, maybe
they're
you're
doing
just
math.
tricking them.
Okay.
Right? You guys have AR quizzes and AR reading the kids like to do. You have math helps that kids do on the computers. They love all that. That's PAT. Okay? So, you say, so now you're sitting in your small group. As you were mentioning, you have stations, 6th graders. You're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be doing this. I'm got these kids that I'm doing with the reading or whatever. Here's what happens with this. Without saying a word, you have a stopwatch or a watch or whatever, and now you look at the group because they know you're taking PAT away. Right? Do I have to say anything?
No. My kids know that. When watch comes out, they know.
But now they know what they're losing. Now here's the trick. Here's the trick. We always add minutes and subtract seconds. Because we still got to get to 60 minutes. Right? What would happen to your class if you took all the PAT time away? What is their attitude going to be like? They're going to feel defeated, and this is worthless, and what the heck, and I don't care, take it all away, we're not going to get it anyway. Right? Maybe they only get 40 minutes, but hey, that's still something, but they're going to get PAT. Right? You add minutes and subtract seconds. So, kids, you have 2 minutes to get your math books out, or a minute, whatever it is. Oh, that was a minute 10. All right, I'm just going to take 10 seconds off. Right? Had they met the goal by 2 seconds, you would have given them a whole minute. But they were over by 10 seconds, so you took 10 seconds away. Can it work with you have a math assignment? Should take 20 minutes. Students, we're looking for accuracy. Accuracy counts, but for every minute that you can finish before 20, we'll add to bonus PAT. Okay? How many kids sit down and do independent practice with something that they're not engaged with and it takes them forever, or they didn't even finish it? Right? Now you tell the whole class, hey, we have 20 minutes to get this done. If you can beat my 20 minutes, however many minutes you have left over, we'll put on PAT. Okay? Now everybody's working. Now, what is interesting, are they motivated by grades anymore?
No.
Now they're motivated by this fun activity that we're going to get to do. And Corey over here is screwing around. And he's going to ruin it for everybody. What's going to happen now if Corey's messing around and not doing his math and everyone else wants to get done in the 20 minutes? All of a sudden, it's 38-1. Whereas before it used to be every student against the teacher, now it's every student against that one student that's goofing around. Okay? Does this going to squash everything and solve every problem and the silver bullet? And boy, I wish I would have known about this before. No. But it takes us from 80% up to 98%. We're still going to have outliers. All right? So we were talking about 4 students in her class where no matter what she does, these 4 kids won't comply and do what they're being asked to do. Eventually what we learn is, I need to set up a system where no matter what those 4 kids do, it's not going to ruin the rest of the class's PAT. So I'm going to set up an individual plan for them. And they'll be incentivized on their own. And what we find is, when those 4 kids are doing what they're supposed to do, the whole class benefits. And when they're off task doing what they're not supposed to do, they're the only ones that suffer. Make sense? What happens when a kid who has always caused problems and everyone complains about suddenly does something right and gets bonus minutes for the entire class? All of a sudden, they're the hero. And check it out, y'all. Seriously, from my heart, that might be the first time ever they were a hero in a class. And studies have shown through the years, because this has been in place since like 1970, that some of those kids that were the worst, that we put an individual plan on, that become heroes in the class, turn it around and become a model student for that year and the years going forward. I learned that concept when I was teaching Casey English, and I had all of my EL students that had bombed. Some of them had been in EL since 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, now they're juniors and seniors. And their transcript was riddled with bad grades. And we would start in our Plato software computer system where they had to read something and take a quiz. It was 4 questions. And they could pass the quiz. And if they passed it, they could print it. And I don't know how I figured it out, but what do they do with the certificate that's printed on the printer? I don't know. I know if it goes in their backpack, it's gone forever. These are juniors, for Pete's sake. I said, well, staple it to the wall. So pretty soon, there were quiz scores. That's all I had in my room. Were quiz scores all over the place. And some of the kids started having like their little area where they were, it became a source of pride. Well, really what it became was a source of self-image. Wait a minute, all my life I couldn't do it, and now I realize I can do it. And once they figured it out, they started to have a lot of success, and it spread from my class to other classes. And what we found was the behavioral problems that they were coming in ceased, and they became model students. Not every one of them. I wish I could tell you that. But my data shows that if I had my students for 1 year, I could have 50% of them who had already flunked the tests pass the California high school exit in 1 year. The state average was something like 35%. I'm not that great of a teacher. I would love to take the credit, but I think what we found was when students have victory when they've never had it before, succeed, and it builds on another. Okay? So, if you're struggling with your small groups, incentivize them. They won't manage time until they have time to manage. So give them some time. Right? You add minutes and subtract seconds. Go to the Fred Jones website and pull down some of those PATs. Now I will tell you that in the future, when we come back, I'm actually going to make that an assignment. So if you do it now and I make you do it again, don't complain. But we will come back and revisit this. And I will tell you, by design, I save it towards the end of our course on purpose. I want you to put these other systems in place before we go to PAT. Because it can be abused. And if you abuse it, it'll stop working. Number 2, just from wisdom, just from experience. Never give PAT control to your substitute teachers. Ever. Because you'll come back and where you thought you had 20 minutes, now you have minus 14 minutes. The sub doesn't understand. And they're going to be subtracting all day long. They don't understand the system. Okay? Not to worry. Don't worry about that. You can say, if there are no complaints, if nobody's name gets written down, if nothing gets broken, I'll give you an extra bonus of 5 PAT when I come back on Thursday. Okay? You can do that. But don't tell the sub. They'll abuse it. Alright? Okay. Let's go back to VIP. And what I want is for the next person in your group to play the teacher. So pick somebody in your group to play teacher. Pick another person to be the student. And those not picked are the coaches.
Hurry up. We haven't got all day.
All right. Teacher, stand up. Okay, students has a question, they don't understand something, or you're checking for understanding. Okay, so your first thing is you need to say a what? A praise. Good. All right, teacher, say a praise.
point. I like that you've got a lot of thinking going on here. I can see that you're really testing.
I love that your name is on the paper.
So what do you think you're gonna do next?
Coaches, was it short? Teachers, what do you want your students to do next?
Okay, so alright, so how do you know that you're on the right track so far? Huh? It all equal? So if you take this and you estimate, is it gonna get you close?
Coaches, were they able to do it with a few amount of words? You said half the amount of words.
Hurry up.
Say the quarter?
Realize the 48.
Okay, so let's look at
Okay.
this. Can you take this number and see if it's gonna get close to this?
How fast should this go?
30 seconds.
Wonderful. You figured out that 48 is not going to 89 more than once. Fantastic. And you did your subtraction perfect, and you dropped down to 5. Question: does 48 go into 415? Why don't you figure that out, and I'll come back in a moment.
See, if you're
Look at that.
How long did it take?
not long, but
What's the temptation?
to talk too much.
Yes.
And to watch them do it.
That's correct. The temptation is to camp out.
Yes.
What happens when you camp out?
They get used to you, like I can always do this if you're right here with me, and so they'll leave you. I won't be able to do it on my own because I told you.
Exactly.
They don't wean.
They
But
don't
that's
use.
part of their they're not understanding how to think. That we're constantly being asked to ask higher level questions, and you do, and then they're like, oh. It's like the
Okay.
learned helplessness.
Does the higher level thinking questions come into play when we're doing independent practice?
It can, because you don't want to spoon feed them the next step. And so at that point, it is a higher level question, because if it's independent practice, they're still not.
Here's the key for tonight. Here's the key for tonight. Are there any steps labeled on your math problems? Could you label these in different steps?
Yes.
So, one thing we could do is say, we could say, Corey, you did great on steps 1 through 4. It's perfect. What I need you to do is look at step 5. It's on the board. Right? Now I'm working the room. Now I'm checking work again. That's what we're talking about with the visual instructional plan, is that there is steps that we have pointed out on the board, or with posters, or on the whiteboard, and it's not something that we normally do. Okay, so what I need now is to look at my notes and make sure I'm not
Oh,
doing
no,
this.
I read that. Yes. And long division is like a perfect example of it being impossible unless you have 6 different colored markers and whiteboards as big as yours to do it. Are your whiteboards as big?
My picture.
Could you put steps up on the Promethean board?
If you had
It
one.
worked. Sorry, that's the reality.
Could you do steps
I'd be
with the
happy to
dots
just have
down?
Chromebooks and let them try something else out.
So you could take that division number and cut and paste it into 6 squares.
Right.
And have 6 steps. And then use a dot key. And that's low tech,
Right.
but it would work. All right, I need you to pick a partner. Make sure you have one partner. Is there an even number of people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 20 went to the bathroom, and 1 for 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I guess you did my turn. Okay, do you have a partner?
Yes.
Talk to your partner, there needs to be 2. One partner, gotta be pairs.
We can be 3.
My turn, right?
We have 3. Well, then,
How about the 2 right
we
here?
have 3.
Alright, the person whose birthday is closest to Christmas gets to be the A.
So like,
This Christmas or next Christmas? Without going over it?
My dad told me to come home at 12 o'clock. I came home at 11 a.m. Dad, you didn't say which 12 o'clock I had.
Yeah, I'm sure that went over real well.
Dad said be home by midnight. Okay. I came home at 2 o'clock. You didn't say what time zone.
oh my gosh, they're still alive.
This is a safe zone.
Alright, A's, you are the teachers. I'm going to teach you. A's, you will do what I tell you. B's, you will only do what the A's tell you. Okay? So B's, you will watch the A's. A's will tell you what to do. A's, take out your paper and look where it says,
The hole punched out the up.
where the hole punch is at. It should have said up.
Yep,
With the up. A's, tell B's.
I like how you put your finger
Alright, A's. Now, I will tell you, you guys are the cause of all these long table chains, because it's such a big class. In the past, this room is normally in groups. And so I apologize, I would normally walk the group as we're doing this exercise to check for understanding. I can't tonight just because there's so many of you and we've configured the room wrong. But anticipate, pretend like I'm walking you in and checking you out. Okay, A's. Got the wrong Kremlin. A's, I want you to fold the top left corner down toward you until folded line 1 becomes visible. A's.
You forgot to throw spin it upside down.
Flip the paper over so that none of the dotted lines are shown. A's, turn your paper over. Tell B's.
Until the left dashes are shown. And hold at the dash.
Alright.
Then you from the right-hand side or the opposite.
Alright, wait. Here's something you need to get. Hold on, listen
And
up.
you pull towards you
A's,
until the
don't tell
dash
B's to do what to do yet until I tell you to tell you what to do. Okay? Why? As the teacher, I don't want to do this. I want to make sure what?
Checking for understanding.
I want to make sure that it's done correctly. Right? Alright, so Vince Lombardi said this. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Okay? So folding paper, if it's not done correctly, won't result in our airplane, will it? Did you know that's been hanging there all year?
Yeah, I noticed that every time I walk out.
Here you go.
Alright, A's, have you folded your left corner down?
Yes.
Crease along the dotted line and repeat with the top right corner.
Yes.
A's, show B's how to do it.
Paper is facing down. The whole punch is still up. you grab the top left side, bring it down until the dashes are shown, and you fold on the dashes as close as you can up. You grab the left side, bring it down well, try to fold on the dashes as best as you can. It does not have to be
Three, two, one. A's. Fold the fold the nose down until folded line 2 becomes visible and crease along the dotted line. Fold the nose down until line 2 becomes visible and crease along the dotted line. A's tell B's how to do that.
The number 2 should be.
Let's see, yes. Okay, good. I'm gonna have like one image.
You gotta catch up. Gotta fold the corners.
Come on, pressure that hand. Just like that.
Okay, A's. Fold the outside wing edges in and crease along fold lines number 3. Fold the outside wing edges in and crease along fold lines 3. Should look like this. Both sides. A's, teach the B's.
Okay, so you grab the top corner right here.
Left side and the right. If I went to the left, and put over to the line 3, and we'll fold it all the way up on both sides.
Corner again, on the right.
I said the left.
Hold it until you see the dashes here.
Oh, really?
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that's 22nd.
A's. Fold the right half of the plane over the left half and crease along fold line 4 so that the outside edges of the wings line up. Should look like this. Pretty simple fold. A's, show B's.
One side.
Which one does not mean? Well, let's consider.
A's. Fold the wings down along fold lines 5. Stop there. Fold the wings down along fold line 5 and stop there. Both sides. Both sides along 5.
Teacher, you're taking
A, show B's.
You wouldn't listen to that. Yeah, that's right.
They would do that with all teachers.
Kind of like when I watch that kid play, always say, okay.
3, 2, 1.
It's kind of like that.
All right. So everybody should be at this step. Hold up your planes. Very good. All right. A's. Add the winglets up along fold lines number 6.
For like little baby trains.
Fold line number 6.
I can't wait to see those. Hurry, I'm hurrying, I'm hurrying.
Fold it up.
All right.
A, show B's.
Okay, now little winglets, line 6.
How's your winglets looking?
You're doing a really nice job. Could be a 6 or a 9.
Awesome.
Choose.
My kids would have a heyday without one. Mine probably like.
3, 2, 1. How many of you have never before tonight successfully folded a paper airplane?
Not this fancy.
Right?
I make it all the time. We do it. I do it.
3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right. Did you see how we went step by step? Did you see how we checked for mastery at each step before we went on? Can you see in your mind's eye how to use this with different subjects? And why is it important for the A's to teach B's?
Because if you know it,
Mastery.
you know it.
If you know it, you can teach
If you teach it, then you know. Okay? If you could teach it, then you have the understanding. If we did this about 6 more times, do you think that you could successfully fold a paper airplane without any instruction?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How would we use this for English? Is there step by step in writing?
especially with the outline.
Okay? So one of the things that I did with my English class is we used different colors. So we used black for thesis and topic sentences. We used, I'm trying to remember now, blue for opinions and green for facts. Okay? And so we would write in the 3 bodies paragraphs, we would have our topic sentence, and then we would write a fact and 2 opinions, and another fact and 2 opinions, and a conclusion. Most people write 5-sentence essay paragraphs, and we were teaching them how to write 8. By the way, it fits really well with the new Common Core, where you have to defend how you're thinking about something. Given a fact and 2 opinions. And my fact would come from the reading, If I'm rebutting it or supporting it with my opinion, fine, either way. But I was able to teach kids that really struggle with writing how to write using the step-by-step method and using color coding. Okay. What about history? What can be step-by-step in history?
Things that might be in the war.
Okay, so in history we could have cause and effect. Another one that's history, it's really natural, is a timeline. Right? Okay. Is a thinking map a step-by-step? Yes. Okay. So while I showed you, and essentially I cheated by showing you math and this little airplane thing. Oh yeah, this is great, this is going to work. And then you go, wait a minute, what do I do with, right? So you have to go back and start thinking through your curriculum, how do we do step by step? And interestingly enough, PE teachers, this is probably natural for you, right? Because you teach step A, and before you can go to step B, we got to master A. You can't shoot the ball until you learn how to dribble the ball, right? And so you have steps on how to teach dribbling. And you teach shoot, right? You go on from there. Okay, so think about that. How do you apply it to the situation in which you find yourself in right now? Okay? What's the difference between a summary graphic and a VIP?
Summary graphic's just a simple graphic. Be that math problem done, finished. Here you go, this is how you do it. Whereas the VIP is going to be step, then another picture, step, then another picture, step, then another picture.
Correct. What are the main characteristics of a good set of plans? You should have read this. Remember we talked about reading before you come to my class? Yeah. It's Thanksgiving. What do I do? Alright, I want you to know that answer when we come back. Who's the primary user of a lesson plan?
Student.
The teacher, students, and the
Students and teachers.
Being honest.
Alright, we didn't do the reading, did we? Hey y'all, seriously, I want you to come having read it so that what I'm telling you is not new information, but we're reviewing it. Why? Because I know that what goes in one ear goes out the other. But if you've already read it, now we're going back to some of that long-term memory that you're hopefully accessing because you saw it. Remember, seeing is more valuable than hearing. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't think I'm that interesting, so come on now. Let's get the reading done before we get here. Alright, so I want you to know that lesson. I'm not going to tell you the answer. We're going to find out when we come back next week. What is the most efficient way to create comprehension and long-term memory during the teaching of a lesson?
Do all three.
Corey's got it right. Getting the kids to do it. Alright, and so I know we're running up against time, and one of the things I was going to have you do is break into groups and start creating a lesson plan. We'll come back and do that next time. But I saw a lot of opportunity for students to do as I was observing classes for the last month when teachers were doing. Okay? So, most of you have smart boards, yes?
No,
Most of you. Yeah, so,
I don't even have Chromebooks.
So, most of you have smart boards. Did you know your kids probably know how to use them better than you do? I didn't see very many kids going up to the board and working the math problem or writing the sentence or filling out the thinking map or doing the graphic organizer on the board. I saw teachers writing on the board. Okay? One of the standards, one of the CSTPs is how are students using technology to learn? We're using this to deliver content, but we're not really utilizing the full tool that is available where students can come up and work it. So imagine that you have a math problem on the board and you're working the room now. And what are we doing is we're working the room, and the kid is up on the board working the problem.
Killing two birds with one stone.
Absolutely, because now I'm checking for what?
Understanding.
And I'm having the student prompt it. By the way, when the student gets up and does it on the board, it puts it in a different part of their brain because of that total physical response that you heard about in your credentialing classes, but you never really kind of understood what it meant. Okay? It means kids are doing. And now that the kid's on the board doing, what is he actually doing for the class? Teaching. Who's mastering it now?
He is a man.
You already know how to do it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Some of you don't have all this high-tech stuff, but a lot of you have dot cams in your classroom, right?
Yes.
Can students can that be placed in such a manner where the student can go up and write?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm hearing a lot of this about Common Core. You got the right answer, Johnny. How did you do it? Isn't that part of Common Core now?
Yes, proving it.
Get them up there on the board and let them teach you how they did it, because that's going to show strategies to another student that goes, oh, now I understand what you're talking about, because the teacher doesn't use all those big words. Okay? You see what I mean? If you can get students to do instead of just sit and get, they're going to take this information and store it into long-term memory, which is where you need it, because next Friday you have a test, right? You know what I mean? And how many times have we now heard, at least in Madera Unified, about the state test and test scores, and boy, we got to get them up. Let me ask one more thing. I've seen a lot of this, and I understand it being a guy, being a boy. How many of your kids are just squirrely? Right?
Whole class.
4th grade boys, oh my goodness, they got the wiggles, don't they? I'm sorry, that's the way God made us. I don't want to excuse it or condone it, but come on, were you a wiggly boy when you were little?
Probably.
I don't know why girls just sit
The girls wouldn't come to my room.
All right.
I got some wigglers.
So if you can get them up and moving, and what's the word we're looking for? Doing.
Yeah.
What does that do to their energy?
It's focusing their energy towards something that, yeah.
Something productive. You know?
Yeah. I saw it in an observation just recently.
You feel me?
Went to Mrs. Hope's class at John Adams. Have you been over there to see how she's doing? She gets her kids up. She plays musical pair share basically. They
Nice.
get up. She turns on the music, and they walk around the room. And she said it took her about 2 months to get them to learn how to move around the room without jumping the gun or running. And her class walked all the way around the room. And she turned off the music, and they put their hands up like this, and they touch hands, and that's their partner. And then if there's somebody who's an outlier, that person's got their hand up because they have a partner near them. And they don't just get to run to the nearest run to the partner. Oh, I want to be with Billy over there. No, it's the nearest person to them.